So first, let me congratulate you as national chairman of the party on winning another elections. How do you feel about that?
Well, definitely I feel good that we've not lost to the NDC. We are still in power, convincingly so, except that we lost a few seats and therefore we have a hung parliament. But I would have preferred we had more seats in parliament.
So the president has secured his mandate now that the election petition is also over. I understand that you've been going round the regions on a regional tour. What has that been all about?
We've gone for election, very grueling election and a good fight. But there are a few challenges. We need first to go and pat the back of our members from the various constituencies to talk to them, tell them that we appreciate what they've done so far. But again, it's an election when almost always, when we go after each election, national election, we need to review what happened. How did we do what we did? What was wrong or what was right? What should we do again? Or what should we do again? We evolve new strategies, appreciate the situation as it is, and then evolve new strategy for the next elections. Exactly, that's what we want to do. And indeed, in the election, one thing what was clear, that the votes of the president
had dropped.
Not dropped as such. It's okay. 500,000 votes, quite
different. 500,000 was different.
Very. When you are in your second term, and you have a lot of baggage, and therefore, naturally, you may drop.
Okay, but is it that you're disappointed at what the vote count was? Because in the last elections, you won by what, more than 1 million votes. This time,
we were not. We were expecting that the votes will come up more because of the conduct of our government, the performance of that government, what we thought, a lot of developments and policies that a program that we have initiated and implemented. We were expecting, as a party, we were expecting that the votes will appreciate.
Still on the vote count, Ashanti region, from what I understand, you didn't get as much of the votes as you expected. I gather that from the quantum of people who registered in Ashanti, you didn't see that much increase. In fact, a drop of 1.5%, 1.5 million.
We will dispute that because the last time it was a 1.6, now it was roughly 1.8. We appreciate it.
But you still didn't have.
We were thinking that the NDC wouldn't have much. NDC had about over 600,000. Indeed, that's the biggest vote that NDC had in the whole country. And we were a little disappointed that it happened that way, but that's elections for you.
So for your regional tour, you've been in Ashanti?
We've done that. We've done it a greater part of Greater Accra.
So
yes.
Ashanti, Bono East, Ahafo, what's their feeling about how things went?
They want government to continue pursue the policies that is being. They want more roads. They want the schools to improve.
Are they complaining that the party isn't doing enough for them as party members?
That I wouldn't even like to talk about it here with you. But of course, people had their own complaints, internal complaints of what's going on and what they are not happy of. In some cases, they've expressed satisfaction of the way we conducted our campaign and the way the president went around all over the country. They appreciated it. Bono East, Bono and Ahafo were appreciative.
I think you did very well in those areas.
We did quite well,
yes.
But our seats did not increase. In fact, we lost, in some cases, we lost a few.
Okay, but I think your major loss really was in the central region. When are you going there?
We've not yet drawn out the program, but quite soon we will be there.
Okay.
We'll be there.
Any reflections upon those losses of seats in the central region, because the kingmakers are a Greater Accra central region and your former region?
Yes, we lost a few
Western.
seats and
And
this
in
time
central,
round
you lost quite.
we lost quite about six or so. But
seats.
as I said, that's elections. Unpredictable. It's a normative science. Anything could change. We need to review our strategy.
What do you think is the problem in central region?
Central region, one, we had problems with the coast. That's concerning premix.
People said they weren't getting access.
Yes, we had problems with areas where they were, and they're taking galamsey, mining areas. And a lot of our people, particularly in the mining area, western, central, and indeed even part of Ashanti, a lot of people were not very happy with the policies over galamsey, and therefore did not come out to vote for our MPs, our PCs. They refused to do so. And there were internal factors that contributed towards what we refer to as scatterbrains.
Yes.
Some did not.
They gave the president their vote, but not the MP. I mean, isn't that an indictment more on the MP than the president? Because if there's a policy and the party has sanctioned it, isn't it the job of the MP to emphasize why this is important? The policies on galamsey were meant to save our water bodies.
We did. We argued it out, but it's a question of bread and butter for some people, irrespective of what we are saying. They are staying on the land, and that's what they live on. And they didn't. Sometimes some of them don't even care about the pollution of the water. We needed to fashion out our communication. We need to do very well by letting them come
How do you respond?
And find them alternate
forms of livelihood. Okay, but how do you respond to accusations? And I guess these have been investigated, but we've not seen a conclusion, where the view is that it is senior party members who've been involved in galamsey, and if anything, the party brought this upon themselves.
This is a wrong perception. We are leaders of the party. I'm talking about the 10 people who went around in the country. None of us are involved in the galamsey. The regional chairmen are not involved. They brought about complaint that this should not continue. That accusation that the party leadership itself, the government leaders are indirectly involved in galamsey, I think it's a wrong perception, and it's propaganda. It's not correct.
All right, let's come back to Greater Accra. So the tour has started in Greater Accra. I understand you are going round today. What will you be telling people in Greater Accra?
First of all, as I told you, we'll be greeting them and telling them that you've done well.
It's a thank you.
Thank you. Tell them, yes, we've done it, but it was not the best performance in Greater Accra. But we want to also know the opinion from the various constituencies, the members, the organizers on the ground, the youth leaders, to let us know what exactly do they think. And indeed, we are chronicling all these things. We're telling them, we put up and have the report on it. We sent up a committee to go around to ask for opinions and tell the facts as they were, what happened, and what do they expect to change, how do we move on so that we could give a good beating to the NDC. We're talking about all these things.
What's your outlook for the party over the next 4 years? You have a lot of work to do. I mean, in the first term, it was really more about free SHS. There's
Not
a lot of
quite a number
there's a lot of complaints about
we
bad
have
roads.
flagship projects, bad roads. The bad roads we inherited. It's not that immediately we came, the roads turned bad. The roads have been bad all this while. Except that when we came, we said, look, let's focus on roads. In 2019, but before we did that,
COVID came. All right. So for 2021 to 2024, apart from, of course, free SHS, what's your big agenda?
Well, we said that in our manifesto. We said that we will do more of what we were doing. And particularly you mentioned roads.
Yes.
And incidentally, when we went round all our constituencies, regional constituencies, we're all talking about road contracts that in some cases people have even gone away from the site and so forth. We need to increase that because this country depends on roads for it to expand its economy. We're going to do that. And 1D, 1F,
planting for food and jobs.
And this year, the government is going to focus on housing, particularly in the urban areas. And so we want to put in more effort to ensure that there is housing and discipline on our roads. And so these are some of the things.
It seems that some party members, in spite of whatever complaints they have about not, having the kind of development they want or the jobs they were looking for or an opportunity to really just benefit from their party in power, some members have gone ahead to launch campaigns, break the 8th presidency campaign. First, is that sanctioned by the party?
No, it's not been sanctioned by the party. We've even had opportunity to talk to the media for it, and we are coming out with even some rules governing the engagement.
Okay. But don't you have rules already governing the engagements?
When we talk about conduct, code of conduct, how to behave, how to conduct affairs, how to conduct yourself prior to our asking people to file to contest various positions. We think it is too early.
Okay.
And the party hasn't come up with a program of elections. We need to start first of all by organizing very well a Congress this year.
And probably all these issues from the regions will come up.
Resolutions from the regions will come up, and we will talk about their concern, express concern, policies that they think they want government to pursue, regional complaints, just as what we are doing. We expect them to put them on paper, and they will bring all these things forward to the Congress.
Okay.
And resolutions to be read.
I know the NPP constitution mandates that when you are in office, you don't elect a flag bearer till a year before.
You know it very well, a little more than
a year
most
before.
People do. Well, the constitution talks of when we are not in office,
and when you are in office. Good.
When we are in office, at least 11 months before elections, then we could elect our flag bearer.
The reason why I'm asking this is it possible that in other peculiar situations, maybe this may have to be looked at in the wake of the campaigns that are being put forward for people's preferred candidates, even though the government hasn't even gotten off to working. So, for instance, knowing that President Akufo-Addo will not be running at all, maybe to remove this problem of people peaking before time, you specify that, look, maybe for this kinds of circumstances where there's a president in office, he's not running again, we probably bring that forward so that this matter is dealt with quickly.
Well, it should be decided. We were talking about it, but it's better. We don't want President have 4 years mandate. We don't want him to be distracted, the government to be distracted. Government must perform, it must deliver. Based on that, individuals could ride on the back of the party, on the ticket of the party towards achieving their ambitions. So we will prefer we all work together collectively to achieve what the party has set itself up to do, the manifesto more so. But coming to that, what is destructive about it is that invariably some individuals may even end up criticizing each other within the party and even criticize the president.
So you're afraid it will give fodder to the opposition to go against?
Not only give fodder for the opposition, it will be distracting. It will be infighting, factionalism will distract us from doing what we are supposed to do. The president may have to now settle disputes and so forth and so on. And we prefer that let's spend a little time to achieve. Definitely there will be time for people to file their papers and even getting to nearer to it. Social media, we can't control it. Some will do some kind of campaign, but it shouldn't be too excessive and reckless to the extent that there will be people insulting each other.
What I do want to ask, though, the president has made his appointments, and I do see that one person who had indicated his willingness to contest, he remains an MP, though, his willingness to. So what happens to a person like that? He's not appointed. Can he go about and campaign then?
Yeah, that's why we say that we will come out with
a code of conduct to guide everybody. All right. You talk about the government implementing its manifesto, and it's a manifesto of the party, ultimately. One would have thought that for a second term, the president would have quickly made his appointments. Because in the first term, yes, sometimes you're not sure, you're still speaking to people. But for a second term, some of us would have thought that this would have happened quickly. But somehow, we just have the ministers, regional ministers. We haven't really heard much about deputy ministers. Boards are still in place. MMDC is still, undertaking their jobs for the meantime. What's the holdup?
I wouldn't say there's a holdup. It's not completely. We're less than 3 months from the time that we had the election. It's a new government. Let's accept it. But of course, first of all, you need to go to Parliament, and then the approval of ministers that have been
but you take your list there. If your list is complete, it's
up
to them.
It's complete. If it's complete, you send it to them. They will have to be vetted, and you can't even appoint deputy ministers. President can't appoint deputy without consulting the substantive ministers. That's what it is. They will have to wait, and the president has reduced the number of. It's indicated. Has going to reduce the number of deputies or in fact ministers on the whole. And for that matter, it's not easy making choices among a plethora of very competent individuals within the government. And therefore there need to be more consultation. And I believe it's not too long. Sooner than later, the list will come out. And then other nominations with regards to the MMDCs, and then, of course, CEOs and so forth will also come.
You talk about the vetting of the finance minister happening Thursday. The government has come under some criticism following the budget reading, which was read on the finance minister's behalf by Honorable Osechi Mensah.
Criticism from the opposition, I believe.
I beg your pardon, sir. No.
Yes,
there are Ghanaians whom we have spoken to on radio, TV, and even on social media, people expressing their own individual views.
Fair enough.
Criticizing the additional tax burden that many of us are going to have to bear. In an era of COVID, where we want to stimulate spending, we want to stimulate investment in the economy, one would have thought that you wouldn't be taking away from the citizens.
Well,
you approve of this as national chairman?
As taxes?
Not just the taxes, but the issues raised in the budget in reference to the taxes.
We discussed it. We discussed the budget before it came up at some level.
You didn't think that this would generate some angst among the citizens?
Eva, let me tell you, nobody is happy paying taxes. It's like that. It's an obligation. It is a social obligation. Now, government has to rely on taxes to develop the country. Apart from all other things, primarily, you depend on taxes, directly or indirectly, to develop your country. The kitty is small. We needed a whole lot of the social roads, and of course, COVID had even led to revenue being dwindling and so forth. We find you said that there should be productivity, so to be enhanced, so that there will be more in terms of the cake swelling. But how do you go about it? You need to not borrow too much. Already, over time, government has borrowed too much from outside. Interest rate is on the rise. So we need, therefore, to hurt yourself a little by paying more taxes so that you can pursue and execute projects that you've put yourself up. Not only projects, but a lot of other expenditure that you have to do. You have to pay for the NHIS, free education for children, and so forth.
I don't think people are complaining so much about the taxes as opposed to the specific tax and what is for. For instance, the energy sector levy, for instance, the president in his State of the Nation address indicated that we had paid off the majority of our debt. Why do we still have ESLA if we have to use that money to pay for excess capacity? We didn't ask for that.
Well, it's excess capacity that you're talking about was an obligation that had been imposed on government for a long time. You signed to pay for barges, produce energy for us that maybe we don't need, but we've signed for it.
The other one is the banking sector levy. Mm-hmm. Banks who had nothing to do with this crisis in 2018 now have to pay for this. They're going to pass it to you and I.
It's not only to you and I, because it's a financial sector
yes, but
sanitization.
But the reality is that how does one justify, I had nothing to do with this problem, I've been managing my affairs properly, some other group of people caused this, and then I have to pay to offset that debt?
It's imposed on the financial...
And it seems you didn't even engage with the sector, with the bankers to get them on board.
Don't say that you didn't engage with the bankers. I believe the finance ministry did so. Engage with the governor of the bank and all the other commercial banks. So we discussed it with them. And they are making quite sufficient profit. We say give a little to help sanitize the sector. I think it is fair.
Okay, and I guess the final levy I will issue or levy I would raise has to do with the COVID levy. And not to belabor the point, certainly when COVID happened, we spent quite a bit. We spent 181 million Ghana cedis on electricity, 300 million on free water, 5.43 million cedis on free food for 470,000 vulnerable families. This was really laudable. I think it was one of the things that people were so happy about, even for 3 months. But then now we have to pay a COVID levy. I know there's been clarification brought that this COVID levy is not to offset those debts or those costs incurred. But we had more than 42,000 people who lost their jobs. We are all in this struggle. I can understand the other levies, NHIS, an additional levy on VAT and all that, dealing with free SHS. But then this COVID levy.
But we're going to have vaccine all over this country. Everywhere else in the world, people are having vaccine. You need to pay for that. It costs a lot.
I thought the vaccine was free.
The vaccine? Free from where?
From the COVAX facility. I understand that what we are paying for is just the operational activities.
Yes, but people are asking for
importation and operational,
yes.
getting
when you are importing, you pay
professionals.
For it. You don't. It's not free. You don't just go to the market and everybody give it to you free. Some may come by way of a donation, and so, but you need to pay substantially for what you are importing to vaccinate your citizenry, and so forth. You need to pay for it. And there are other ancillary costs that need to be taken care of. Mind you, COVID is not gone. Indeed, we've been able to manage it well. This is the best management of the COVID in the sub-region. And that is, it costs money to manage it. And you can't have it for free and think that maybe Providence will take care of it. You need to manage and pay for the management. That's what it is.
So, based on all you're saying, can you just clarify for me then, what's the party's view on subsidies, freebies, any policy that relates to that? What's the party's position on that?
Well, we need to pay subsidies. Sometimes we need to give away a few things. We have a social conscience, and therefore, when the vulnerable in the society needs to be taken care of, we agree that there ought to be some kind of freebies to some extent. But on the whole, we want to do business. We want to liberate, create an environment and make sure that individuals who work, produce, and therefore taxes can come out from it, and people will be able to take care of it. In this country, people are capable of doing so once we create the environment. And MPP government and Nananado.
Let's talk about an issue that I know is very sensitive.
What is it?
This has to do with the Volta region.
Where you come from?
Well, I do come from there.
Yes.
Your wife also comes from there.
That's true.
So I guess we're all in that boat together.
We're together.
You broke a 28-year jinx and you now have an NPP MP for Hohoi.
One, we were not too satisfied with it.
No problem about that. But I guess the view is that a lot was done in that area to get Mr. Mewu into office. Doesn't that show that the region has not had that kind of attention, that kind of investment, and it shows what can be done if you do try?
Why not? I agree with you that a lot can be done if you do try. And we don't only isolate one region. And we are saying that we will definitely work hard towards the Volta region as a party. There used to be a time when Kufuor was campaigning. It reaches Sogakope on the riverside at the bridge. And then people will be hooting at it.
That was 20 years ago.
Well, a few years ago, but things are changing.
Yes.
Now people, particularly the youth in the Volta region, the attitude is changing, particularly women. They realize that, and they can sing MPP songs. Now it's not an anathema to be a member of MPP in the Volta region. So we're giving ourselves a little more time. Fortunately, as you said, we won just a seat over there. That's
it's not the first time the MPP has won seats in the Volta region when it was the full Volta region.
Well, mainly
won
from
Akan, but even there,
in the OT region now.
Yes, in the OT region now. But you didn't sweep that region as I actually thought you may because of the creation.
We were not expecting to sweep. We were working hard there. But if you look at the trend of the vote, you see that it's gone up massively, appreciated. And therefore, 2024, the story may be a different one.
So
even in the Volta region.
Will you undertake a specific strategic engagement for the Volta region?
I will not discuss that with you, but I can assure you that our attitude towards the Volta, MPP attitude towards is strictly more engagement.
I challenge that because in as much as you may be doing work there, the members of your party whose narratives, whose commentary, whose conduct make the Volta region seem like they don't deserve to be part of this country, they don't deserve any of the good things that you're offering elsewhere.
Jifa, it is entirely wrong. It's some people raise that those complaints or raise those issues. Perception too high.
It's all perception.
Perception.
So the party is committed to improved engagement in the Volta region.
We're doing that. As you said, me as an individual, I go there more often than any other region, and not because I'm going to visit my family.
But you go do a lot of work.
A lot of work. I have very good friends there. So please don't have that perception that this party is anti-Volta region at all.
You became chairman of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation.
I was since 2017.
Has that been fulfilling for you?
Well, to some extent, yes. Being chairman of this very important corporation, to some extent, but there's still room for improvement. We are happy with what we're doing, particularly GMPC Foundation, in terms of what it's been doing for the Western region, but it's not limited to the Western region.
I know that.
It's all over the country.
Yeah. You hope to continue in that role?
I'm not the one to determine. It's the president, but possibly I'm going to do that. It's probably.
Because it's an opportunity for you to also still give back in a different way to your region.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much,
You're most welcome,
Honorable
my
Freddie
dear.
Blay. It's been wonderful speaking to you again.